Unconventional coaching on money mindset. This is the topic that I want to talk about. And I want to bring an example of a client who I coached 2 days ago. And I saw her have a breakthrough on her money mindset. And I wanted to share an example of how unconventional way of looking at things and changing our identity even around money is possible. So usually when I coach people, humanitarians on money mindset, we all have a lot of belief systems that are very struggle driven and that are very victimized, right? So in other words, we tend to put the money in a on a pedestal, or money as something that is so difficult to make, money that is so hard to reach. We need to struggle for it. It's scary. It's hard. All of these things that make up our mindset around money or our relationship with money, where we feel like we are inferior to it, right? So in some way that the money is the one that's ruling our lives. And that's why we tend to stay in the jobs that we don't like. We tend to keep applying for jobs we don't want to even apply for, or we tend to go to duty stations that we would have never considered going if it wasn't for money. And the goal and the purpose is not to judge ourselves, obviously, or to make ourselves wrong. The purpose is for us to start observing and understanding how we came up to that money mindset, how we develop this relationship with money, and what can we do about it to remove that altogether. So my client was just like many other humanitarians, talking about how money is scary and money is a problem, right? So whatever the problem that she can associate with money, that's what money is. And as we were discussing this, she was telling me also that she has tried a lot of different ways, right? She has tried to follow the conventional way of, okay, I have no problem with money, or I am abundant, and all of the mantras and whatnot, a lot of different techniques that she has tried, and still she feels like money is scary and money is a problem. So as I was coaching her, I was telling her layers of belief system that keeps that mindset going. So the layers is first thinking of money, or approaching money as scary and a problem, is she believes is what's holding her back, or she believes that this is the reason why she's not able to have the abundant money as much as she wants to, right? Another layer is that she believes that that mindset can't be changed, right? Like with many other mindsets, I think we have come somehow to accept that certain things about our personality, certain things about our identity that can't be changed. This is just how it is, and we need to be struggling and tolerating this about ourselves for the rest of our lives. And that is not true, but in part because we haven't used the right approach, in part because we haven't really figured out how, and therefore we just keep working on it, we keep trying on it, and never really arrive at a point where we feel like we have resolved it once and for all, right? So, and the third part of the layer that we were discussing with her is that she just believes that her personality, or the way she is, there can't be any other way of treating money. This is the only way that she has treated money, and this is the only way that works in her life, and there is no other way, right? So we were obviously challenging all of those concepts around why did she come to accept money being a problem and scary. And of course we can always go to the past, but even if we went to the past and we figured it out why and how we got it from our parents or from other adults as we grew up and all of these things, the question that I'm always interested in, I want to challenge people around is why haven't we decided to do something about it? And also, why do we keep having this conclusion or assumption that now that we have this type of mindset, we can change and we can do much about it? Right? So we keep instead explaining and assigning all of the problems to how we have this mindset and we can't do anything about it and therefore keep suffering from it, versus how can we solve this once and for all so that we no longer have money issues at all in life. And I think that that's the most challenging part for people because they can accept the part that, yes, they were raised in a family or in a background where there was always a money struggle or there were always problems with money. We can accept that that was the impactful construction of our mindset as we grew up, but we can't really accept the premise that we can actually change it once and for all. Right? So that's why the reason why I'm talking about this unconventional coaching is I was really helping her question and challenge the second part of the problem, right? So the first part she believes is she has this approach to money as scary and hard and difficult and problem and all of this. But the second part of the problem, which is she believes that she can't really change that mindset, because once we started getting her to seeing that she can actually change it, she can actually even not make it a problem, she can even decide that, okay, this mindset that I had and inherited from my parents no longer impact me. She can also do that, but she believed that that's not possible, therefore she has never been able to change that, right? So once we started getting her understand that she can no longer allow this to be the reason and obstacle why she cannot have the money she wants to, now we started going into another area that I find very unconventional, but it is such an important distinction that you can also see for yourself. And that is, we keep searching for evidence as to, if I see the evidence of this happening, then I believe this to be true, right? This is how we are all wired, or most of us, I would say, right? So we feel like we need to see an evidence of this happening, and then I can say this is true. Except that if we keep having the mindset that is ingrained that says, money is evil or money is scary, money is hard, then the evidence that we keep getting in our lives is exactly that, right? So whatever the belief system we're holding to be true, we keep having the evidence of it. And you can observe this in your own life, right? Even like, I don't know, we can even give another like analogy. So if you have certain preconceptions, judgments about a certain race of people, then you keep interacting with them in a way where either you feel discriminated or you discriminate them, right? So you keep using those biases, cognitive biases that we know from psychology, from neuroscience, those cognitive biases keep creating the evidence that you then accept as true. This is just how it is, right? And the same goes for money. So, because we have the mindset around money that is so struggle driven, that is so victimized way of treating money, where we tend to either make it a pedestal and we feel like we can never get to it, or we make it as something evil that we need to somehow repel it. And then we keep having this unhealthy relationship with money. And therefore, the result, the evidence that we get in our lives is also very unhealthy, right? And the reason, like, then the way that you know it is unhealthy is when you keep making decisions, sorry, when you keep making decisions about lives based on where you can get the money or based on how much you can get, and not really based on whether you like actually doing it, whether that is in line with your values, whether it's in line with who you are. If you are choosing based on the money, then that unhealthy relationship continue going in your life and producing the evidence that you don't like. So therefore, if we keep getting the evidence that we don't like, but we say that the only way we can say this is true based on the evidence that we see, then we put ourselves in this limbo, right? In this limbo of never getting the evidence that we want, because the mindset shift that, or the cognitive bias that we have, continue ruling the evidence. So what we want instead, and that's why it's an unconventional coaching, is we want to accept the evidence that we want to see, not the evidence that we have seen yet, but the evidence that we want to see as true before that evidence materializes into real life. Now, as I was coaching my client on, I was also telling her that what if the desires that we have, you have around money, what if you accepted those desires to be facts now, to be truth now? And if you were able to see it now, that was part of your life and reality now, how would you feel and think about money? Right? How would you feel and think about money differently than you are thinking and feeling about them now? How would you treat them differently than you have done it now? So if you had the money that you wanted, whatever the amount that you wanted, right? So in my client's case, it was $1 million, but it might be any different number that you have in mind. So I was telling her, if $1 million was a factual element in your life, this was a fact now, you had it, you are the person who made it, right? If it was a fact, how would you treat it? How would you have a relationship with it that is different than the one that you're having, which is money is scary, money is a problem, and I never have enough, or I always struggle with it, and whatever the stories that you keep having around money, right? And I was telling her, if you accepted that to be true, without seeing the evidence yet, but if you accepted that to be true, how your internal identity would shift around money. And then she was telling me that, well, if I had that, then I would be thinking about money as, well, apparently it's not that difficult to make, or I'm capable of making, or I no longer allow my mindset from my childhood to keep impacting me, all of those things that start changing, right? And that shift and internal mindset shift is available to us all at this very moment now, right? We all have that availability to think about, okay, if I didn't have a unhealthy relationship with money, if I had a healthy relationship with money, how would that look like? And if I had the money that I'm desiring, how would my inner state change? How would my behavior change? How would I see myself differently? Would I see myself differently, right? How would I keep telling myself a story about the money struggle stories? Would I keep telling about those money struggle stories or not? Right? Like, coming back to my client's case, she was saying that, oh my God, I always assumed that I could never change this mindset. I assumed that I could never be the most abundant person in going for the things. I assume that whatever the mindset that I inherited from my parents back in the day, that was it, and there's nothing I can do with it. And that's exactly the problem that we keep having and encountering, is that we never solve things for once and for all. We just keep trying and carrying and keep telling ourselves story that we can't do anything about it. This is how we've been raised. This is how we have always done it, and all of those things. And the other part is we don't even allow ourselves to look at the situation from a totally different perspective as to, if we had whatever the thing that we wanted, if we had it, how would it be so different? How would our relationship to that be different? If we had money in abundance, what are the things we would be saying about ourselves, right? What are the things that we would be making decisions on? What are the job assignments we would actually take, and what are the job assignments we wouldn't take, right? So I was coaching another client in my group the other day, and she was saying that I really want this time to be looking at the content of the work, even though I need money and I need to support my family and all of this stuff. But I also don't want to just allow my brain take over and say, oh, as long as we can earn money, as long as we can pay the bills, that's it. And if we keep doing things from that mindset, we will always be under the mercy of money, right? We will always be putting the money on the pedestal and feeling like we need to be a servant to it the whole time. And that's exactly what has not served us. And we know that from experience. It's not even me talking, right? So therefore, if that's not how we want to do, then we need to start seeing that we don't need to put the money on the pedestal, but we need to put our ability to make whatever the money we want on the pedestal. And in order to be able to do that, we need to release some of the mindset around how we could never have it and all of those things. And the other mindset is how we can change that. Those are the things that need to go, and start exploring, if we had all the things that we wanted, whatever the money that we wanted, then how would we treat ourselves differently, or how would we treat our abilities differently, and most importantly, how would we have relationship with money? And I'm starting to realize for myself is that the best way that I was able to break from constant money struggle stories and all of these things that I've inherited from a lot of different people is that recognize that they don't need to govern me anymore and my life, and recognize that we as human beings are so powerful that whatever the money we want, we can always make it. And it's a matter of how we want to do that. And I would love for you to also allow yourself to see what the mindset that you've inherited, see what your thoughts around that inheritance, and how you can solve it once and for all. And if you did have all the abundance that you had, how would you organize or live your life differently? And that's what I want to help people with. So if you would like to get my support, come coach with me. In the meantime, have a beautiful week.